Hi everybody, welcome back to part 13. Very quick overview, because on the last video all we did was the guttering, downpipe and bits and pieces, so we know what's going on. The next videos are all going to be about weathering, and we're going to be also concentrating on getting the groundwork done. I want some paths in here, we need to get soil on top of the bricks, so it's going to be a mixture of all the finishing bits and weathering as well. Now, weathering. Last time we left the roof with two coats, well, one coat of brown and another coat of black. So I said I'm going to leave it to this video to finish that off. Now, I will say this up front. My methods are very unorthodox, so you don't have to do what I do. Just take from my videos what you want, but at the end of the day it works for me. It may not work for you, but I will still show you how I go about doing my weathering. So with that, I'm going to put you on pause. I'm going to spin things around, get a few bits and pieces, and we'll get on with weathering this roof. Right, now last time we left it, like I said, we put a coat of brown and we put a coat of black on. Now if you can see, I've already started to blend this in, and there's actually a line all the way down. This is what it looked like before, and this is what I'm looking to achieve. Now, like I said, my methods are very unorthodox, and to start off with, how I'm doing this is I'm using some airbrush cleaner. Any airbrush cleaner will do, and it will work. Now this has been left on quite a few days now, and that's the reason why I'm using airbrush cleaner. If you did this method probably the day after, you could just get away with standard thinners, but all we're doing is I'm just putting some airbrush cleaner into a container. Well, actually I've got it in a pallet, which there we go, look, we've got it into a little pallet there. It's only a little bit of airbrush cleaner, and what am I doing? Very simple. I've got a very short little brush, and all I'm doing is using this, and I'm working it in to the actual tiles. Now what this does is it loosens and softens the two coats of wash, and what happens then, it blends it. As you can see, it blends all the colours in together. Now I know people say, oh, it's a little bit harsh, but it works for me. It may not work for you. There may be other techniques that you would like to venture on, but this is a very quick technique, because I don't like spending a great deal of time on weathering, because you should know by now that my weathering is done in layers. It starts right from casting, and that's how I do my weathering, and hopefully that gives us the very sort of natural look, should I say. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just doing that section by section. Now I'm not going to let you sit there and watch me do all that. I'm going to carry on now. I'm going to get all this roof done, and then I should come back to you and we'll have a look at the end result, but you can see what it'll actually do. Now I've gone over the whole lot with the airbrush cleaner, and as you can see, it's blended everything in. It's given me all the highs and lows. It's even scuffed off places to give that effect of slate sort of breaking up. More than happy with that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to be leaving this, because I'm going to let it really dry out 100%, because airbrush cleaner is pretty evasive and it's pretty strong, so I want that to dry out totally. We'll be coming back to it though, to be using some green wash just to give it that little bit of algae look underneath the edges of the tiles. But like I say, I'm going to leave that to dry. While that's drying and giving it time, I'm going to be moving on, and we're going to be moving on and we're going to be doing some paths. So I'm going to spin things round and we'll have a look at the paths. Now, paths. I want to put some paths in because there would be paths, and what I'm going to be using is the German frog bricks. Now, there's going to be no laying out, drawing lines or anything. I'm just going to do a random path. But the random path is probably going to go underneath the stairs, round this edge, and probably round the other side. Now, what I'm trying to achieve is a footpath that runs across the front. I'm not going to dig anything out. I'm going to glue bricks directly onto this surface, because then I'm going to make the outsides up with grass and items like that. And what I've got in mind is footpath running right the way across the front here. This wagon is to be literally sort of buried under undergrowth against the barn. The generator that the Germans are using, I want to get all the grass laid down, like they've just pushed it in round the corner, trampled all the grass down, and then, well, that's it. That's basically all that's going to happen there. Is going to get it all trampled down so it looks like people have been around the generator. Cables coming off the generator into the front. So I'm going to get started on doing the bricks. Now, like I say, there's going to be no set pattern. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fly this by the seat of my pants, and I'm going to start here by the water butt, and I'm literally going to lay glue down and then start laying bricks. But I want the path, like I say, to come out and come down and then all the way around this side. And I'm not going to even turn the bricks any particular way. Whichever way I get the bricks out of this, they will go down. Frog up, frog down, and a very random pattern, but in almost, should I say, straight lines. And I'm not going to put them all the same way. I'm just going to do them, like I say, totally random. I've got plenty of halves, so we'll use them halves up, and we'll just do a footpath like so. See what we'll do, we'll turn the bricks on the edge. I just want it to look like, you know, the farmer has just said, there you go lads, get that sorted, put some of them bricks down to make yourself a footpath to get round, and that's it. So I'm not going to bore the arse off you by sitting here and doing brick by brick and let you see. What I'm going to do, I'll do so much, I'll come back, you can have a quick look, and then I'll carry on and we'll do it that way, because I don't want to fill the video up with just one item. Front half of the front section of the path is done and completed. A little bit difficult because the OCD kept on making me want to straighten all the lines up, but we got through it and we got there. That is how things are going to be laid out on the front. If we bring the camera down, and hopefully the camera will play and focus. Come on camera, there we go. So I've kept it really random, left little gaps. We're going to fill this in with a little bit of soil, may even put some grass and bits and pieces sticking through it, but that's on the next section. Now, moving on, I'm going to move to this bit at the back of the barn, and what I would like to do, I'm going to actually do this whole lot right up to this point here in brick, so it's a good level hard standing, should I say, so we can probably put a few farm bits and pieces on there. So I'm going to get on with that, and I shall be back with you shortly. Okay, the back section has all been done. Quite happy with it, looks good. Wash, get it toned down a bit. I know it's a bit bright at the moment, but that will come a bit later. We'll get it all toned down. So what I'm going to turn my attention to now is round this side, and like I said, I'm going to bring this round and then I'm going to bring the path tight against the actual barn. So I'm going to get on with that, and I shall be back with you in a little while. I've got all the paths in, right the way through, all done and complete, and I'm quite happy with that. That looks pretty good. Now it's all nice and dry, so I'm going to go for my 50-50 mix brown dipping wash, and I'm going to give this all a coat of the brown dipping wash. So I am now going to go all the way around and give this one coat of brown. Then as soon as it's dry, I'm going to hit it with my black, and when I've done that, I will come back to you. There's no point of you sat there watching me paint bricks. So that's what I'm doing. 50-50 of brown and 50-50 of black. Once I've done that, we'll come back and we'll get on with something else. Now, it's had a brown coat and it's had a black wash as well, all the footpaths and this hard standing area, should I say. Now a strange thing has happened. We've got these grey areas, which, don't get me wrong, I'm quite happy with, because they do look like, it looks like cement, it looks like these bricks have been repurposed from somewhere else. But I had to sort of track back why this actually happened, and what I've done, I've traced it back to changing my thinners, which I changed my thinners to this VMS thinners, which is Vallejo compatible, because I mixed up a 50-50 mix of the dipping wash that I use, the brown, with this thinners, and I did that yesterday, and I actually used that as the first coat. Now the black wash that I put on top of it, this was already pre-mixed, and I mixed this up using water, and so that's what I'm putting it down to. This with water on that particular thinners is giving us these grey areas, which is something that I'm going to put into my little computer, my head, to remember that, because I don't want that effect if I'm doing brickwork, but it's a handy effect to have when you're doing paths and things like this. So I've got to make sure that my next batch is mixed with the same thinners, so we don't have that effect. But saying that, like I said, I'm more than happy with the effect, because like I say, it's giving it that like old repurposed bricks they've used for the footpaths. If it's going to stay, I don't know, because the simple reason is now we're going to be grouting this up with some soil to fill all the gaps in, and then I'm going to be using the AK pigment fix. Now the pigment fix sometimes has got a tendency of wiping that sort of thing out, but we will find out. So that's what we're going to be doing next. I'm going to remove all this stuff off here. I'm going to get some earth ground down, and I shall be back and we'll get this all grouted up and put some pigment fix on it, and we'll see what happens. Everything's been removed and we're nice and clear. Now what I've actually got in this little pot is garden earth, which I dug out my front garden. I stuck it in the oven in a baking tray for about half an hour at 200 Fahrenheit, and I baked it, dried it all out, and then I sieved it, and we ended up with, I got a nice big container full of soil. I took a couple of spoonfuls from that, and I put it in my it always sounds wrong when I say it, mortar and pestle, and give it a good grind down, so I've got some really fine soil. And all I'm going to do is use that to grout this, well, all this area up, and I'm going to grout it up no different to the way that we did the brickwork. Just going to sprinkle some over, and I'll probably get my big hand out of the way, and then we're just going to brush it all into the joints. Now I'm going to go round and get all that done, and when I've done all that, I shall come back to you. Now I've grouted with the topsoil. I've grouted all the way round, brushed it in as deep as I can get it, right the way round, and I'm quite happy with that. And it's taken that shine off it, but now I'm going to fix it. But I keep going back to this stuff. This is Pigment Fix by AK, and I find it extremely good, but it's expensive, and I'm going to be using this in parts, and in the other parts I'm going back to using just varnish, watered down. But on these footpaths I'm going to use the AK Pigment Fix, and if you've not used it before, it's very, very easy to use. As you can see, that is all you do, is just dab it on, and this will dry absolutely matte. So I'm going to carry on now, and I'm going to go all the way round, and then when I've done, I shall come back to you, and then we'll get on with the next step. I've been all over it with the Pigment Fix. It looks like these little grey areas might be stopping, which I'm quite happy about, but the whole lot's been covered, and I won't really know till it really thoroughly dries out. So we're going to leave that to dry, and while we've got the soil out, I thought it would be rather rude if we didn't get on and get some soil on the inside there. So I'll reposition up, and we'll get on with that. Now the inside of this barn, this is all experimental. I'm not 100% sure it's going to get the effect that I want, but you don't know until you try. Now what we did in there was we broke all the bricks up and made the hardcore and laid all that down and fixed it down. Now what I want to try and achieve is a flat surface that has got soil on it, but we can still see some of the hardcore through. So all I've got here is my garden earth, which I baked yesterday, and I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna put a lot in, and then we're gonna just level it off and see what we get. Get that out of the way, use a brush, and just start working this in all the way round. Well, it's working to a certain degree. It's going to need a bit of sweeping off, but if we can get the camera in there and if there's enough light. I know it looks all the same colour at the moment, but once we get some fix onto it, the brick colours will come out. Now I'm going to be messing about with this for a little while, just pushing it into the corners. When I've got it how I want it, I will come back to you. Okay, a pretty close-up shot of the floor, but I've got it to a point where I'm happy with what I see, because I don't want to see too much brick, but I don't want to see too much soil. So what I'm going to do now is, I've got it roughly level, so I'm going to fix it with just straight varnish, the Vallejo matte varnish. I'm going to thin that down probably about a 50-50 mix, and I'm going to fix that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it to dry totally and then have a look, because if there's any areas that I need to level off a little bit more, I can use that real fine stuff, and then I can use the pigment fix on it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fix this all now, and then when I've done, I'll come back to you. Now I want to try and get a little bit of coverage over this so I can start putting grass and rocks and other bits and pieces. Now all I'm going to be using is my dried out garden soil, which, like I said earlier on, I baked it in the oven and just sieved it down. And all we're going to do is we'll put 2 to start off with. No, we won't. We're going mad. We'll put 3. I've got 3 big spoonfuls in a container, and I'm simply going to add PVA to it and knock things over at the same time. PVA, a reasonable glug, mixing stick, and we're going to mix that in. And another little ingredient is some water. Just put some water in. That helps break the PVA down. And what we're looking for is a bushable paste. Let's get that all mixed up. We'll probably put a bit more PVA and a bit more water in there. PVA is cheap enough. Well, especially the way I buy it in 5-litre tubs, a little bit more water, and then carry on mixing. And what we're looking for is, like I say, a brushable paste. Probably went mad with the amounts. A little touch more water. Right. Once you've got your paste, it's a very simple job of getting a reasonably stiff paintbrush and using this as your covering. Now this has got a good working time, so you can, you know, take your time, you don't have to rush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build up all the way around. And if you notice, I've already put a piece of masking tape, because I'm going to bring that over the edge like so, and I want this to be my topsoil, and when I take that tape off, that will be for my subsoil. So that's all you need to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the whole lot covered. I'll probably pop back so you can see how things are progressing. Didn't take me many minutes. I've done this side. I'm going to leave that to dry. I'm going to move on to the back in a minute. I've used it as well to go underneath the brickwork on the bottom here. I shall be removing the tape so we get that line all the way through, but I'm more than happy with that, because the next stage will be putting grass and bits and pieces on top of that, and it just gives you a should I say natural, because it is natural, because it's soil. So I'm going to get on with the other side, and I'll be back when I get that finished. Now I've got this back bit all finished off with the soil. I've taken the tape off from around the bottom, and you can just about see if I turn it that way. I've actually embedded 2 tracks in there for the vehicle to sit on, just so we can make it look like it's the soil's moved with the weight of the vehicle. And that's it. We've completed well, yeah, we've completed everything. Now this needs to sit and dry. I'm going to give this a good day to dry off before I start anything else. And besides, I've got some kits to put together. I've got the lorry to put together. I've got loads and loads of the smaller bits and pieces to start to get weathered and put together, so we can actually start finishing this diorama off. This is the last clip, so this is the finish of the video. Next video is going to be more of the same of what we was doing in this video. We will be jumping back and forth because that's the way you build a diorama, because while you're waiting for one thing to dry, you carry on with something else. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I will ask though, if you do give us a thumbs up, like it please. It does help the channel, and also it helps me to know that what I'm putting into the videos is alright, because I don't really want to be putting something out there that's not of interest to you. So with that, all I can say now is thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we will see you on the next one.